So I guess everything is working. Let me just see everything on the stream. But yeah, everything seemed to work. So hello everyone. Today I will be doing another skeleton. Last week I have done the horror skeletons. I hid them somewhere in the folders in here, so I guess it will be a bit hard for me to find them now. I forgot again to mute the stream for me. And let me only turn off everything that can give me any type of a notification. Okay, so basically today I will be doing corpse axe because last time I once again randomized the skeleton, and if today after this stream, hello Mikoy and hello Gorigon, and today after this stream if I will randomize another skeleton, I honestly will believe I am cursed. So I really wonder what will be next. And I basically did pretty much the same pose for this guy as it is in here, but I did it in the Skelly app made by Proco. Something along these lines. I'm not necessarily sure about the left hand because it looks kind of weird. Most likely I will change it, but basic idea is basically I will be doing like a study of a skeleton again, so I can see how it looks like, and it will be a quite cool thing to actually draw, I believe, against. So again, if anyone has any questions whatsoever, feel free to ask, and we will see what can be done, what can be answered. So let's see if the tablet is working. If yep, everything seemed to work. So yeah, that's pretty much all the interesting things that I could say for today. I think recently something changed in the way Wacom did with their drivers or something like this, because painting feels a bit different recently after updating some other things. Like I feel the pressure is now much more sensitive. It kind of feels like the spectrum for it increased somehow, but I don't think it is a big of a problem. And also what is really cool about the previous skeletons, for a longer period of time now, I have been in contact with one guy who is doing like his own game. Basically like a medieval, kinda like all these player battlegrounds type of games. I don't remember the name for them. But he is doing kinda game in this setup, but a little bit more with the medieval vibe to it. And he really liked the horror skeletons, and he wanted me to draw them in like pretty much a technical view. So he will make a 3D models out of them, and they will become basically the basic enemies in his game, which is really cool. And maybe I will do a stream this week where I actually draw these guys, so you will be able to see how to make the ortho drawing without a perspective, basically like a technical drawing. So it might be kind of cool. So yeah. And the idea for today's skeleton, since this is like a corpse axe, and for the corpse skeletons I decided I want to hang a little bit more meat on them. Maybe I will do something a little bit more gruesome. Maybe they will be a little bit more like fleshy in a sense, so something will like appear actually on them, like fragments of meat and some maybe skin parts and stuff like this. So yeah. And one of the comments that I got also for the horror skeletons is that my elbows, not mine, but the elbows and the knees that I am drawing are usually way too thin and too delicate, which I kinda agree with. So in today's stream I will pretty much take extra care of making the knees and everything look a bit thicker. So yeah, I will be bending a geometry of the bones a bit, so they will have a little bit more movement in them. And this part on the knee, the kneecap, actually I don't think is really that much useful in a skeleton, since it's basically like a floating bone. If there are no like ligaments and tendons and everything, then I guess it will just basically peel off. It will like, it won't hold to anything. So even if we consider that magic is doing like a huge part in the skeletons being alive, I think drawing a kneecap in a skeleton actually serves no purpose at all. So I think for this one I will kind of get rid of it. And since the corpse skeletons I can imagine being a little bit more aggressive, like, or at least I think they should be a little bit more aggressive, I just basically goes black for like a half a second and then like turns on, back on again, and the timer is reset, also resets. So at some point I might not know for how long I do stream, because as I said, the software is like resetting from time to time. And I guess for the arm I kinda want him to have like this kinda L type of a question shape, so it will look a little bit more interesting than just basically a C curve or something like this. So let me rotate everything. And here we go. So for the skull, I'm not entirely sure what do I want to make with it. There was some ideas with like giving them, like drawing him without a jaw or something like this, but I don't really see it working. Like the skull without a jaw that are on a skeleton, in my opinion, looks kind of weird. I will have to think about something to make it a little bit more gruesome. And the pose, I need to see myself, needs to go a little bit more like this. So this arm go a little bit more to the back. And the bones in here will go like this. And I always forget where the thin bones goes. The thin. Do I have a skeleton in here somewhere? Because it's hard to see. Anatomy of a forearm is always so painful for me. What are bones? Let's see. Okay, I guess this will do. Let me only trim it a bit. Also, if you are drawing stuff like this, it's really okay to like have a reference with some naming to it. So I always forget like how it is actually bending. Like this twisting motion is always so weird for me. It's like one of the things that my brain cannot process properly. I don't know why. But for a second I thought by rotating it, it would show another side, the bone from the other side. Because as you can see on this drawing, if you are doing like this pronation, supination and everything, then it basically like twists on top of each other. And the basic mechanism works kind of that you have like the arm bone, in here you have like the elbow, this like big bone, and then if you like make a pronation, so basically you lay your hand in this way, then it basically creates like this X type of a shape, which is always really hard for me to like kinda, I don't know, rotate in my head properly. So yeah, it's like one of the things that I always struggled with. At the moment the pose looks kind of primitive. I don't really like how primitive it looks, so I guess maybe I will like make the arm like this, and I will rotate the hand slightly outwards. So the idea is that he will be holding a double axis. It will be like double wielding axis because this is like a corpse axe skeleton. So if this is like a skeleton that pretty much have a lot of stuff hanging on him, I can imagine his weapon being a little bit more, like even more crude than usual. So it should be a little bit more like aggressive in its shape, maybe a little, even a little bit more primitive. So let me see. Tools for cutting bones. Blades. Is there butter tools? So I can imagine those type of skeletons having like equipment that is a little bit more butcher-like, since they are like, they have this prefix of corpse. And I want to see if there's maybe a really cool, like historical, let's say, shape for some sort of an axe or something like this. It could be a cleaver, basically. But I was wondering if I could maybe find something a bit cooler. Yeah, but basically, I really like how this axe actually looks, like copper double tranchant. It looks kinda like, I like the short and aggressive like proportion to it. I guess it kind of fits the character of this skeleton. So it's like really short, extremely sharp. And it looks kind of badass too. Like, I like the top part of it. Also, if you do struggle with drawing like an axe in perspective or something like this, because like drawing a symmetrical weapon in perspective sometimes might be a pain in us. So basically what you can do is you can turn on the symmetry more or less. I mean, not even more or less, and just basically draw the shape of an axe or sword or bow or pretty much whatever. I guess this is like a really simple tip. I like to mark where the middle line is, so later I know a little bit better how this guy will go, and you can pretty much just basically pose it for you. So the transformation will kind of take care of all the distortions and everything and yada yada. So, but as you can see, I was quite close with the sketch, but I will leave the new one because this is the layer. Yep. So he will hold it like this in here. The only thing pretty much you need to do is to take care of like the roundy parts, so they actually will look a little bit more roundier. And the thing is that I kind of want the line of the head, so I kind of need to distort it to align with the direction of the forearm. So I guess the axe will look a little bit more like this. And I can imagine this axe like being a bit thicker in the top. So it should have like this visible edge to it. And then this part will be like a bit thicker. So basically the cross section of this axe, I imagine, is something along these lines, maybe on like the bottom part. So maybe even the top part should be a little bit more rounder, so it will be visible. And since this is like a double wielding skeleton, you will have two of those. And this one will be in a much more like dynamic pose, like the much more dynamic perspective, so it's basically visible from the front. So it will be a bit harder later to... And that's pretty much all. It will look like pretty much like this. And I really like this thing. There is a monster in Dark Souls which basically uses this type of a blade. It's a really cool thing. I always like this monster. Let me find him. he was in this village. Monster with axe, Dark Souls. I guess it was an axe. No, but also something like this would work really well for the skeleton. So basically like a hammer with an axe, something like this. But wait, Dark Souls monsters. The one I am talking about, Free Village Monsters. Oh, is this, guys? I always liked how they look like with like the saw. Well, basically it's not like an axe, it's more like a saw for them, but yeah, it's kind of similar. I always like their like charging attack, and the way the animation looked on these guys, so it was kind of cool. For this skeleton, I can imagine actually them like looking a little bit more like from the below everything with like this visible laugh to them. So also let me search for the reference for the skull. Laughing skull. Since as I said, the corpse skeleton, and this will actually do. It's not a perfect thing, but as a reference it will do. So I can imagine those skeletons to be a little bit more like on the crazy side. So they are like running and screaming and like murdering everything, like wearing all sorts of like bloody things on them. So definitely a skeleton with like a really visible character to it. There was an idea, as I said, for dislocated jaw, but yeah, I think I don't feel like drawing a dislocated jaw today. So they could even like sharpen their teeth like on purpose. So basically some people, as far as I know, do. They basically like use those things to sharpen. I'm missing the word. File. They are using files to pretty much sharpen their teeth. So I can imagine those guys actually doing that. Exactly that. So they can like rip the meat off a little bit easier. And the easiest tip, if you want to make something appear a bit bigger, simply make the head smaller. I think it only needs to be a tad smaller, so it should be fine. And in here there will be like the obojczyk. Show me the reference. I mostly wanted to have a reference for this guy because of the ribs. As I said, like drawing ribs actually is painful. Like it is kind of boring and tedious because like a lot of things is happening at the same time. But sometimes it's really hard from imagination to actually. Do you think it is? To be honest, no. If you do not understand the 3D object that you want to draw, and I mean, it is okay to use 3D in your artworks and everything, but it needs to supplement your skills and not be something that will basically do the work for you. Because if you like make an extremely complex scene in 3D, but you will not understand the geometry and the perspective behind it, then like pretty much who cares? You still won't be able to utilize it in any way because you won't understand what you are looking at. So I don't necessarily think using 3D for someone who is a beginner is a good thing. I would say it might be beneficial because like you can study the object and you can understand it in a nicer manner, and because of this I usually suggest for the beginners to use 3D, but not to compensate for the lack of skills, but to learn from them. So if I am using like this guy, I could like paint on top of him and everything would be fine, but I do understand the geometry of the object that I'm looking at. So it's not that I'm at the moment like making a copy. I can tell how things would wrap on their bones and everything. It's nothing too crazy and too spectacular in terms of like a skill set. But if I would not understand what I am doing right now, I would be like bluntly like just copying it. Then most likely I will do all of the sorts of different like mistakes, and the thing will basically look a little bit more amateurish for it. And yeah, if I want them to be a corpse skeletons, let me open the last corpse guy I did. I guess it was a captain, but digital painting, Instagram. Yeah, this was the last, well, not the black and white one, the color one. This was the last horror captain. I liked the hairs, definitely. I liked the hairs hanging from him. I kinda left him with some muscles. As I can see, I really like those muscles to be in here. They were cool. So I will like leave them again because I think they look neat. And there were like some muscles in here. So I actually kinda want to give him a little bit more volume. But again, I do not want him to have like all the muscles. So it is still something that is kinda left on him. And on this side, I will give him a kneecap because I want a tendon to be in here. So for this guys, basically the idea could be that they are kind of like stripped of the muscles, but maybe if they kill something, maybe they just like rip off the muscles of the creature they just killed and they reattach the muscles to them. So they basically do all the sorts of like nails and stuff in them. Also, I can see the pose is quite similar. The guy I have done previously. So yeah, a little bit delts is always nice on a skeleton. It's nice to be a skeleton with delts. Like yeah, all this like tendons. The cool thing you can do with like this muscles that are kind of left and everything is you can pretty much smoothen the entire silhouette. So you do not necessarily need to like draw every single bone and every single like space between the bones, gap between the bones. You can pretty much like play a little bit more with like the graphic read to it, so it looks kind of like it's entangled in all the muscles, the tissue and whatsoever. So maybe a little bit more like bicep tricep thingy going on, and because of this it can be a little bit thicker, so there is actually something that can be drawn on them. So I like the idea of like the hairs like just randomly like waving around him, kind of like he would be underwater. It would actually be quite a cool thing to animate, I can imagine. So it would also look kind of scary, I guess. Like the skeleton will just roam and their hair will basically like float. Kind of like in the Pirates of the Caribbean, something like this, where there was this guy, I don't remember his name, but even if he was like walking on a deck, his hair would like float around him like he's constantly submerged, which I guess could look cool. It's smaller for the head, but yeah. Now I kind of want to keep it as a sketch, so just like in a moment I will jump and try to make a bit more tight line art and everything. The muscles on the... And also the idea for these guys was to give them some fur and stuff like this, but I don't know. I don't know if this convinced me still. But the hair just like floating around, I think, are a nice addition to them. They could even look a bit scarier than horror skeletons because of the hairs, like floating like this. So it's definitely a cool thing to have. Maybe the horror skeleton should actually carry something with him. So maybe he would have like some sort of knives. Attached to him somehow. So after they are done with killing, they can like separate the bone from everything. So maybe they do have some tools with them. Maybe they don't. I mean, I can always add this later, so I won't care that much. I think the pelvis is like drawn in the wrong direction. I kind of feel like drawing it like this would make a bit more sense, since basically it's like all rotating. Wait. Skeleton pose. So I guess maybe there is... Yeah, I feel like it could go like this angle, and then the spine will go like this on them. This entire area could be a bit... Actually, it could be a bit bigger on the top. Maybe the pelvis should be a little bit more up front. This will look like the most sensible solution, I guess, for this guy. Yeah, so the sketch is done pretty much. Then I guess it's time to actually draw him. So 25%. Let's color the layer and let's lock it. And let's begin drawing. To be honest, I'm kinda afraid of this remaster because I do know how many hours again I will like drop into playing Diablo. To be honest, I think they did like a fantastic job with it, because basically what is really cool about this game is it kind of looks as I remembered it. So they really nailed down the feeling of the game. It's a really cool reference for the school. So when I was like watching it, how Mr. Llama was playing Diablo and everything, I really felt like I'm watching something the way I remembered it. So it's not even necessarily... Well, so I guess they even did a better job than I expected they would do with it. But personally, I think it actually might be the best looking like hack and slash out there. Unless maybe Diablo 4 will bring something like really interesting to the table. And also I have seen the Path of Exile 2 trailer, and it also looked crazy good. So I guess now the games like the hack and slashes are really getting an upgrade in terms of the visual quality added to them, which is cool, which is really great. The only thing I wish they have done is they showed us more of different acts. I was really wondering how Act 3 will look like, because it's like the most hated act. I really don't like Act 3. It's just, it was always like extremely exhausting for me. And I really wonder how they make a remake of some monsters, especially of the giant trees, because like if they just upgraded the resolution of them, they will look kind of goofy. So this is like pretty much the main thing that is interesting for me. Other than that, from what I have seen, this will be like a huge hit. Recently, a friend of mine also was telling me that he made his like younger brother, I don't know, he's around 10 or something like this. He made him play Diablo, and the youngling said his head hurts because of the old looking graphics. And I was like, ooh, blasphemy. Because I personally think Diablo really nicely got older. Yeah, do really look really great, really good. Like, I don't think they could have done much better with the things that they did at the moment. Mr. Lama had some like suggestions, but it was like total nitpicking. And the only thing he didn't like was like one aura or something like this. Frost aura, I guess, looked kinda like off for him, but yeah, that's pretty much all he could say from about the things, which is really good, which means they really like made a great job with the game. But again, I know how many hours I will spend in Diablo again, but I kinda also hope they will add some things that there were never there, like in the original Diablo. So for example, they will like increase the amount of runic recipes, and they will increase the amount of unique items, create new ones, yeah. So basically they will like expand on the game. Because as far as I know, after like playing it for quite a long time and like watching it for a really long time, there are like some metas that pretty much everybody uses at the moment, and it's really pointless to go with something else. So a refresh in the items will definitely be something that could be really cool. But on the other hand, it will kinda like, it could ruin a balance, and as far as I know, also Diablo is extremely well balanced. So I don't know. I don't think they will add like anything beside the upgraded visuals, but still, it's more than enough. Now this game pretty much will be immortal because like a new fandom can go enjoy it. Because I have to agree, playing this game. Yeah, and the chipped games, I also did not like them. They looked really off for me. And some muscles on a face. Hello, Lucas. Yeah, recently I have not been able to stream on Wednesdays, because I had kinda like a lot of different things to take care of. So I'm glad you managed to step by. This skull has really weird looking proportions. I wonder if it's like normal quotes human being skull, or if there is something like wrong with it, because it looks like really narrow and really wide in the front place. So I wonder what is going on with like this skull. For the hairs, I don't think I will be like drawing like much thickness to them. I kind of feel like just basically drawing strand by strand will look best. I kind of would like to avoid the hairs. Hair? I don't know if you can say hairs. I guess it's hair. To avoid making them look like that's something thick. So I basically want to create all the individual strands just like floating around. And this is, I believe, the thing that shouldn't have like really finished lines, so they can kinda like start and stop in a bit more random places. So they could like go, they will kinda look a little bit more like her. Because also with the hair, the thing is, you sometimes see like only the lid part of the hair that kind of reflect some light, and then you do not really see the entire thing. So if I were to create a mask for this layer to kind of hide what already have been drawn or painted, you can see sometimes some lines won't really like start anywhere. They will basically be like floating lines. I really like the idea of like the hair kind of like destroying the outline of the skull, so it goes a little bit more like this instead of like this. I think it can add a neat looking, kind of like ethereal looking vibe to it. In the nose it will be much darker. Same in the eyes. And the inside of his face, and that the head could be a bit smaller. Now let me draw the rest. So in here, because I am kinda, as I said, leaving some of the tissue on him, instead of like drawing all the bones like separately and then covering them with everything, I kinda want to like draw what I can see. So I partially ignore the things that are underneath it. So in here, for example, I guess I want to have some sort of a muscle, but also I want the muscles to be kind of like torn apart. So like a pectoral muscle will go like with some like strands and everything, like thin lines that are kind of attaching somewhere. It also could be a really cool looking thing if someone were to animate, for example, this fella. I kind of wonder how the skeleton would move if you kind of like misplaced the attachments of all the muscles and everything. So it will basically like make a delt to be like attached a little bit more to the front, like the chest muscle to be attached in a bit higher, a bit lower. So it will create all this awkward like looking animations and everything that in the end could end up being even more terrifying, because the entire skeleton will move in like this really unnatural looking way. And I think it's cool. Like if you are going to draw something that is meant to be creepy and like awful and everything, then just think about how you can pretty much amplify the feeling of it being creepy. Some tendons. I guess my favorite muscle is in here, like the one in the neck that kind of connects like to the bottom back part of the skull. It has this like really cool looking shape in here. In here there will be like a bony landmark. And how did I solve it here? Like this. Yeah, so basically a little bit more like random looking lines. Something to basically like build a volume to it. Deltoid once again. And also the cool part is if you are drawing like deteriorating muscles and everything, then you can like play a bit more with its shape. So it do not necessarily need to be like a perfectly looking muscle. It can have like some things just hanging around from them and whatnot. So in here I can imagine like the joints being quite heavily used, so maybe they like wrap some things around. I don't really want to give him any type of a bicep or something like this. I kind of want him to be a little bit more naked to the eye. But since he is kind of like moving, maybe the floaty things should also move a bit. The facing here definitely will like require much more work to be done. Some skin residue, because I want the face to be like really striking in this one. So I guess I will have to like rework a lot of the line thicknesses and everything. Ooh. Yeah, this one will have hairs. I remember that in the previous one, I like the corpse captain, I gave him some sort of a hair or something like this, but I kind of feel like giving them like the floaty looking hair, that is kind of like creating this creepy ass looking aura around the face, that it can like basically work well for this one. Maybe this one also could have like a tongue. This would be fun. Yeah, this one will have a tongue. Oh yeah, Banshee, that's right. So since this one is a corpse captain, a corpse skeleton, maybe a tongue looks kinda cool. I think, especially if I like rework the line weights. You kinda want to make your drawing appear nicer quickly, then like reworking the line weight can really like do wonders in a matter of seconds. It basically will kind of create like a natural looking depth into the drawing, because basically something that is hidden will be a bit darker. By hidden, by something I mean when something is overlapping on top of each other. Then it can create like this nice looking like feeling of depth, so you can tell what is in front of what actually. I especially want to like give this distinct like line on the jawline, so we can clearly see that the jawline is above the entire character. And also in here, the outline should be a bit thicker. And this one can appear a little bit more angry like. I don't like this oval looking eyes. This one can appear to actually be like screaming. I guess this fella will be a bit closer to the original like style I wanted to have for these guys. I kind of feel like shading with lines a lot today. Also, if any of you have any questions or would like me to review an artwork or whatever, feel free to send like a link in here, so I can always like look on what you are actually doing, what you are creating and everything, so it will also be a nice thing to do. Now I kind of wonder if he has like a mouth, maybe he even should have. Yeah, I bought some Domestika courses and in my opinion they are really nicely done. They are like relatively short and they are really straight to the point. I really enjoyed the course done by Sam Smith, I guess, on the color and light theory. Like the method he's using there with the multiplies and everything is pretty much the thing that unlocked a lot of things that I had problems with. It basically showed me like a logical way to applying light and everything to some like geometries and everything and whatnot, and it kind of made me understand the concepts I already had in mind in a bit different manner. So definitely I highly recommend Domestika courses. I even wanted to have some affiliate links with them, but they told me my following is a little bit too small for them to consider like getting affiliate with me, which was kind of sad. But one day I guess I maybe will be able to be the affiliate partner with them. But definitely they have really cool courses. But take a note in what language they are, because some of them are like every course is in English, but sometimes someone will like talk in Spanish or something like this, and you really then need to watch the course, you need to read the titles and everything, so it can take you a little bit longer to go through the course, because instead of like looking on what he's drawing or something like this, you are just like reading, or she, you are just like reading the text, because it's hard to. Yeah, most likely it's really fine. Like I bought several different courses, my girlfriend is also using them, and personally I think money well spent, especially since when I was like buying them, they were like a huge promotion, like you could buy them in bundles. So basically like a course costed like $5 or $20 or something like this. It's basically like stealing, I would say, because the quality, like the price to the quality is like tremendously good. So yeah, I really think it's a legit site, like really legit tutorials. And as far as I also know, they have like internally, they have quite of a high quality standard to the things that they are doing. So you cannot basically create like a shite tutorial and say, okay, you know, this is a tutorial, it's on Domestika. You need to like meet certain criteria to make it go through, which is really fine. And I feel personally that the standard they want to have is really high. For this fella, I feel like I kinda need to like make much more like small decisions on where I want the black parts to appear, because he's a little bit more full in a sense. Like there's a little bit more going on him, and to showcase it properly to later make it look good in a painting, when I will be like coloring him and everything, I kinda at this stage already need to like specify what is where, what darks should be where. So yeah. The hand for skeletons is always hard thing to make. I was never like a huge fan of like a skeletons just having like a skeleton hands and holding axes and everything. Like you do not hold anything with your bones, it's like the meat that is holding everything together. So this is like the only thing that was never really like, speaking to me. Like the skeleton is holding to something with like bones. It was always kind of weird for me. The tailbone. Actually, the pelvis might be my favorite bone in a human body. Like it has really cool looking shape. I always enjoyed drawing pelvises. They are cool. I remember the first time when I learned how to draw like a pelvis with the Proco method, where he basically was showing how to construct everything like step by step, and I was like, whoa, this is like the most complex object ever. Like quite a lot of years ago at this point, but I always enjoyed this. And also, if someone is wondering if the Proco anatomy course is any good, like in my opinion, it's extremely good, but it's even I would say it's even a little bit too good. Like there are too many informations, and this might get kind of distracting to some degree. And also, this is like the reason why I really liked some anatomy courses on Domestika, because they were like simple and straight to the point. And it sometimes it's kind of funny, like because I bought like a superhero anatomy or something like this, where basically the creator like really nicely was drawing everything, but he didn't know like some of the names for the muscles and everything. And it always kind of cracks me up that many artists who are like godlike in anatomy and everything in terms of like quality of a drawing they are making, and they do not know the names of all the muscles. Basically everything is like has their own naming done by themselves. So it's kind of funny how not much you need to know theoretically about the muscles to be able to draw them. But for this type of things I always enjoyed learning the names and everything, so all this like pectoral major, minor, brachialis, brachioradialis, all the cool sounding names were always a thing that was kind of interesting to me. So yeah, of course I do not know every single muscle, like how it's called, because like I have been studying this topic for quite a long some time now, but I never like studied it like thoroughly, I would say. So I never like tried to remember all the names. It just basically, after years and years of drawing them, it kind of naturally like saved some names in my head, which is fine and cool. Connect some things. I actually like a skeleton, like the idea for a skeleton that is basically all entangled in hair, and everything like basically is connected with hair and whatnot. It would be a really cool looking skeleton. Definitely it will be extremely fucking creepy, because you will have like this massive like undead ball of hair. It will be scary as shit. Also, I can imagine this is kind of like a reason. Hello, Legion Reaper. Thanks a lot. I can imagine why a lot of like artists give actually an armor to a skeleton. It basically makes you like forget the ribs are out there. I'm really happy to hear that. I really like that I can inspire someone. To be honest, for Domestika, I would wait for some sort of a summer sale or something like this, because when they had like bundles, I bought, I guess, like 6 tutorials for like $40 or something like this. It's, as I said, for in my opinion, it's basically like I felt like I was stealing money or something like this. Like a course of this quality, basically, I really, if I were to see, if I were to watch the video on the color and light theory done by this guy that also worked on keyframes on Klaus, the Sam Smith, I guess. Then basically I can easily say it will like make my skills go in a much faster pace much earlier, because as I said, the method he's using is pretty much flawless. It's like foolproof. It's really easy to reproduce in every single painting, and it looks really realist, like it gives a really realistic type of things results. Oh, I mean, yeah, Proco is expensive, that's right. But to be honest, again, if you compare the amount of the things that you are getting versus the price, it's cheap as hell, I would say. Let me readjust the camera. Because basically, like for the anatomy course, I bought it when it was like not even fully finished. Just recently, I guess he finished the course. Like he finished these tutorials and everything. I still don't think everything is in there yet, but to be honest, you can easily on like one part of a body spend like 2 or 3 months just drawing it. I never did every single like artwork, like practice he told me to do in those videos, because like whenever I started like learning all this anatomy in a little bit more like solid manner, usually then I started getting like a lot of different commissions and whatnot, so I always stopped like learning them actively. But to be honest, like drawing a skeleton, you can easily like spend a year on learning on how to draw a skeleton from this course, how to draw bones, how to like rotate everything in space. Like these courses are not the cheapest one, but definitely the amount to price makes them cheap. And also the goods received. And Proc also is like a really great teacher. he really knows how to explain the topics he is talking about. I feel there are some easier ways to explain a lot of the concepts that he's trying to teach. And for example, the guy from the superhero anatomy course on Domestika did, in my opinion, much better job on like explaining everything, like what is important, what is not important that much. And to be honest, if you like really want to get good at anatomy, it will take you years. But if you just want to get like a basic understanding of it, that will be more than enough in many cases, then yeah, just go for it. Like I can imagine a lot of, for example, concept artists not even being able to draw like a skeleton, but on the other hand, they do not even need this skill. Like their job is to like design the things, not and to like use different tools to help them, to aid them with the work, not necessarily to know everything. But as I said, for example, for me, I always really enjoyed anatomy. This is kind of even the reason why I started lifting things, because I wanted to like bring my anatomy knowledge to another level, and I wanted to basically develop some muscles, because I just found muscles to be fascinating. And yeah, basically because of Proco, I started working out, to be honest. Overcounted the clogged drain. Yeah, but everybody have to agree, like clogged drain with her and with like the soap and everything, it's the most disgusting thing ever. So if you were to encounter like an army of basically like clogged drains, then you will be absolutely like terrified. I strongly believe this will be like a terrifying experience. Like to kind of go through the army of like this wet, disgusting, like swampy, murky looking skeletons. Bleh. This will be like a terror. This will be a trauma for every single warrior out there. I like that in the previous one I kinda went through with all these holes in him. But I feel in this one I want to, as I said, give him a little bit more connective tissue and everything. Also, the funny thing with the skeletons is like they are so extremely overused that it's really hard to actually find like nowadays a game where the skeleton is actually scary. Like the Dark Souls, I guess, is the only game at the moment that has like really scary skeletons, because like those motherfuckers can basically like delete you in like a second, because they are just basically OP. But I think because the skeletons get so like used in pop culture and in every games, people kinda forgot how cool they can be. It's like most of the games have skeletons as like the weakest enemies you can encounter. I don't think it does the justice to all the skeletons. Corpse skeleton. Also, the idea that I really like with the skeletons is to like, you can make them really disgusting really quickly. So like making a disgusting enemy is also a really cool topic for like a design challenge, I would say, because it's not that easy to create something extremely disgusting. I kind of wish there were like a game where I will like sometimes avoid a certain area because it's like so disgusting to even be in there. It would be a really cool thing to actually happen. Like you do not go, yeah, like usually when a player avoids a location, it's because it's like non-pleasant to like fight in, the enemies are like annoying, or the entire location is just annoying or hard, like let's say Blight Town. But I don't remember if I ever skipped a location because it was just disgusting. It will be a really cool thing. It could be like really rewarding, but you basically will have to endure the disgusting parts of it. I kind of miss some sort of a game with like really strong visuals that will kind of make me shudder and everything. This could be a really cool thing to encounter in a game. Maybe there's a game like this, maybe I just do not know about it. Most likely this is the case, but yeah. Some things on the spine. Mm. I would really like to randomize a Steel Lord or something like this today for the next stream. So I could like do one of the coolest looking motherfuckers in the entire game now, and hopefully later, closer to the end of the stream of the series, I will like maybe randomize another one, so I could like I would have some sort of a benchmark to see how the progression for these guys went, because the skeletons, to be honest, are now a bit painful to draw and paint for me. Like I like them, I enjoy them, but there are too many skeletons in Diablo. Too many types. The really lame part for me is I never played Bloodborne because it's only on PS. I don't think Bloodborne is on PC yet. On PCs available. Maybe I am mistaken, but I don't think so. I am. And I never played it because the only time when I play on PS is when I'm at my friend's house, and usually like we drink something and then we play some games stuff. So, but usually we focus more on different activities than games. So this is definitely a thing that I really need to catch up on, because it's kind of a shame to be like a really huge like Souls fan and everything and actually never play Bloodborne, which as far as I know sometimes it's even better than Dark Souls because it's a bit faster in terms of a gameplay. I really like fast games. I always liked like having additional like challenge with basically the need for reflex and everything. So like I know a lot of Bloodborne. I have seen this game like many times, but still I do need to play it to be able to like understand it fully, to understand its full potential and everything. The drawing coming up nicely. Basically like the hardest part is already done. So like the chest area and everything. Coloring will be like a breeze, I guess. It won't be that hard. Or I don't think it should be hard. It's a little bit more inking in this one. The other game that I'm also trying to convince myself to go for is Sekiro. But I'm, to be honest, not sure if I'm ready to punish myself that hard. So it kind of cracks me up that they made a game so good and that you know it will be so hard that you basically do not buy it because you know it will be too hard for you. It's like a really weird marketing model, like making games that hard. It's like actually hard for players to enjoy it sometimes. The same thing kinda can happen with legs. Like I can imagine all the tissues in the legs like kinda melting together, like connecting into like this blobby something. So for example, the feet will look kinda like mummified something. Oh yeah, I can do. I forgot about this. Sorry. After finishing like a drawing before jumping into the coloring part, I will go there and just grab it. So yeah, that's right. I could do this. This funny little bone in here. Usually like the type of bone I would say a skeleton will never have, like retain, because it's so thin and fragile, I can imagine. So I usually like skip it while drawing anything like skeletal. Because like I can imagine it just breaking off and falling off in a skeleton. It will be like the most natural thing to occur for these bones. Some legs, whatnot. I guess I will never get good at drawing legs. They are just like another painfully hard thing to do. The worst thing about like feet is even if you draw it like really correctly, even if you like nail down the geometry and everything, it still looks off and odd because like just legs have weird ass anatomy. By legs I mean feet, foot. I don't remember which was plural. It was the feet or foot. Yeah. This bad boy goes like here. Okay. And soon I guess I will have to take some references for the hands because I do not feel like drawing hands from imagination, and I need to find something that is big. And this is the reason to buy like a gym equipment. It's basically a really nice reference for yourself. So let me just grab some photos as references. Oh no, it will go like this. One photo done. And the second one. And the second one is also done. I remember making the discovery that you can just basically take your own photographs, own references. It's always a mind-blowing thing for me. I remember when I was like, oh, I'm not drawing this in this position because I cannot find good reference. Now I am like, oh, have a camera. I can take my own references. Wow, really cool looking vein. Nice. Boom. One reference is there. The second reference is in there. I was kind of close with the positions, with the position of everything, which is cool. The closer you get with the reference, the easier it will be to draw it. So let me just first start off with this bad boy. And also a really cool thing about like using references like this, you can also see how the ellipses behave. And this is an extremely important tip to have. Like if you do understand what is going on with all the ellipses, then the drawing will look like immediately way better, because like you can actually see what the hell is going on in there. Again, I kinda prefer the skeletons to have a bit more meat on their hands. So yeah, that's right. Also, several times I have seen some discussions because someone was telling to someone that, oh no, it's drawn improperly. You cannot do that with the body. Like the body do not bend like that and stuff like this. And they were like, what you are talking about? And they were like giving all the references that they took by themselves, like the one commenting. And he was like, oh no, look, it's impossible to bend something like this. You can see. And then it turns out like the artist is like an anomaly and can like bend bones in a way different manner than a normal human can do. And then boom, you have a lot of originality in your art because you're weird. So that is also a cool thing that can happen. As far as I know, like for example for me, it's kind of funny because if you have like this bone in here, I can only bend it like this. This is like the absolute max of bending in here for me. In here, same things. Basically, this is like the unified thing. And some folks, like I guess my girlfriend, can bend this bone, this part, basically like 90 degrees in. For me, this is like the maximum bend. And basically, this shit do not bend for me. So you can check out for yourself if this actually bends for you. It's like a small anatomical thing that does. Kinda intrigued me when I learned about it. That some folks just cannot bend this, and I don't know, maybe it just creates a little bit more stability for my hand or whatever. I found it is kind of beneficial for me when I'm doing deadlifts and I'm doing like this hook grip type of a thing, because I do not feel pain in this area. And I was reading a lot of folks who are doing like a hook grip are feeling like a lot of pain in here, in this joint. And since it's, in my case, it's basically stiff as hell, then I was like, I do not know what you are talking about. I don't feel any type of a pain while doing it. I don't know if it's connected, but maybe I just have like a good length for everything. Hello, Michał Sztuka. I still cannot, like, this guy's surname is basically means art. Like Sztuka in Polish language means art. And to this day I cannot like believe he is not having like everywhere like written the art of art. It like it will be the coolest way to name your everything. A finger boy. But this one is dead. The thick as axe. But can you like bend this guy in here? Because like I know you are left-handed, which is like a severe disability. But I wonder if you can bend these guys. Also, if someone cannot bend it, like me, feel free to tell me. I will be there to support you with like your non-bending bones. You have my axe. I really feel like this axe shape is extremely fucking neat. I really like how it looks. Even the reference has like this cool etching on it, like the how to kind of shade it. It looks extremely nice. I kind of guess like the top part is not like it's like this. It makes a bit more sense, and I guess it will look a bit nicer too. In here I kinda want to give him like this gap in here. So this guy will go a little bit lower, because I want to like draw the gap in between everything. Go kinda like this. It does look kinda off, I would say, but the beauty of painting. The top part definitely should be a bit thicker. Oh no, the smaller bone goes to the bottom. I always mess this up. So it will go like this. This will go like this. And this will go like this. So basically it's like he does have an almost normal looking hand. Yeah, because this is like the butter equipment, so this one is bow bale, carpet, a double tranchant, which is really cool. This is like the battery equipment. And since this is like the corpse axe, I felt the corpse part can actually give them this battery side to them. Because I do not want to give them like cleavers or stuff like this, like that. I felt like cleaver will be a little bit too obvious in a sense. And this is, in the end, it's not like the cleaver skeleton, like corpse cleaver. It's like corpse axe. So I wanted him to have axes. This reference is a bit off, a bit more off. It's not as I have it in here, but I guess I will simply move this area like this, So it will make the arm a bit shorter, which is okay because it was too long earlier. Hardest word to pronounce. 2, 3, 4. And the tire axe will be slightly tilted because of it. And the axe here is done. Only a bit of the front part will be visible. Some lines to indicate the geometry for it. And let's go back in drawing all the bones. Yeah, I also was looking at some surgical tools because I felt like maybe they are just like making a surgery of some sort, but then was like, ah nah, let's just make it a butcher out of it. Like the butcher skeletons. It would actually be really cool if like the butcher had like the fleet of skeletons that basically are on his command, and not only he is like a huge terrifying mofo with like a cleaver, but also he has like this entire army of skeletons that basically go and butcher everything for him. This will be a really cool concept, I guess. I always liked how the delt is like wrapping around the bone, because like the delt is connecting to the side of a bone, and it always like especially with like the pectoral muscle, when it's actually in there, it always creates like this nice flowy line around, especially with the biceps like coming like this, and in here there will be like a tricep or something like this. I really always liked this area. It looked cool. Like this. The thing with the bones also is they are not like really straight, so adding a bit of a bend to them should be fine. Another interesting thing about the bones is they are even a little bit more resilient than concrete, for example. So if you have like a normal bone, it can bend quite a lot. Like once I even saw a video when they were like bending a bone before it broke. It got a really solid bend. And the funny part is, if you're usually having some sort of an accident, it's not the bone like when the bone breaks, it's not because it like gave so easily to break. Usually it means the muscles around it were too tight, and basically they broke the bone. So this also kind of explains the reasons why sometimes when someone who is drunk falls somewhere and just hits something, like basically nothing will happen to them because his muscles were like not really tensing up. So basically sometimes it might be beneficial for you to not break something. Also, this explains why all the homeless persons who are like usually drinking really a lot, why they are always like, let's say, healthy in a sense, despite the fact that they are like falling over and over again. They never seem to break anything. So this basically might be a reason for it. Okay, so let me turn off this bad boy. Let's see how this guy looks. I like how he looks. Let me add some like textures to the drawing and everything. So basically with textures, what I do is I basically like take a really thin pen, brush and whatever, and I just scribble on top of it, over drawing, so it kind of like creates this like something in the empty spaces for the skeleton in here to happen. So I can like build a little bit more of the volume of him, like increase the feeling for it, like supply some like empty areas with some internal details and everything. Because in the end, like the more details you have in your drawing, the higher chance it will look a bit cooler. Like it's a really simplified statement, but for things like this, I do believe you do need quite a lot of surface details to make it like look really cool. Okay, so darker axe in here. So I'm kind of like reworking the line weight again. Here. At the moment, this might be my favorite skeleton I have done to date. I really enjoy how he is looking. Again, one of the coolest details in my opinion you can add to stuff like this are like some dots and like spots and whatnot that basically create a lot of point of interests in the drawing itself. It just looks a little bit more interesting when you have like all the dots happening and everything. For the amount of hair, I think it could get a bit more. Let's fill the mouth inside. And let me remove some of the black parts for the teeth to reappear. And because I wanted the teeth to be like sharp, I will like draw them on top of it. So it will kind of look like these guys actually sharpened their teeth. To make like ripping on the bones, ripping the meat off a bit easier. So we have like this creepy ass skeletons. Boom. In here also there is this really cool part where your deltoid basically meets with the top part of the pectoral muscle, and there is like a gap in here. Let me show you, because I have some muscles in here. So basically in here there should be a gap. Let me find the better photo. Just muscles photo. Museum. Oh, in here you can see it from the museum. And there is like this really distinctive gap between the muscles, the top part of the pectoral and the deltoid. It's really a cool and a neat looking detail to have on your figure. It usually really nicely looks really nice. So I might even like kinda make it like bigger in here. In here the pectoral is kind of torn apart, so it won't be as visible, but yeah, the gap definitely is one of the details that I really do like. But okay, so let me see the artwork that Mikołaj sent me to talk a bit about it. So boom, copy, paste. So this is the artwork I will be talking about before coloring my skeleton, and I think it looks really cool. The concept definitely is there. In here, it kind of shows that you do not really know what happens in here with all the muscles and everything. Like the same thing basically goes in here. Like I do get the idea that this is kind of like stylized and everything, but to be honest, if the stylized thingies have like some anatomy to them, like that if when the anatomy actually makes sense, they tend to look a bit better. So basically in here you will get like this brachyradialis something. In here there will be, I guess, brachialis. In here maybe you'll even be able to see a bit of a tricep in there. But basically the bicep will go like in here. Here will be the delt, so it should be a bit rounder. Like in here. And then in here there will be like the spot. And the chest is basically going like in there. I kind of feel like all the muscles, like the muscles should be kind of reworked. And what also do not really convince me is like this blobby looking lightning. It kind of feels like everything is kind of like swollen in a sense. The shadow will be, the light will be a little bit more unified around everything. So if the delt will go like in here, even with the gap, so then the gap could be a bit more torn, I would say. So the things can like reconnect in a bit of a different manner. So then, for example, in here the bicep will go like this. Bicep has like two heads, so you can like easily show them. Again, the brachialis. And this muscle in here will also, I guess, be there. So it could like reconnect to this guy. For like just showing purposes, I think this guy should go a little bit more like this. Like a little bit more up front. So the entire thing will be a bit thicker. It will go a bit more like this. I like the small arms in the front. They definitely look cool, but they could have got like a bit more muscles to them. So it's not like those thin strands connecting to them. You basically could like duplicate a bit of chest muscles in here. And same for all the openings. It easily could go a little bit more crazy, so maybe a little bit more stomach. Could go like this, like the opening in the stomach could be like this. I don't think if necessarily I would show the holes in the ribs. Maybe they could be there, I don't know. Yeah. The area in here definitely needs a bit more of a like shape up, because the clavicle, I forgot the name of this place. Collarbone. Clavicle, yeah, it was also a word for it. Collarbone. Basically do not go like this, it goes like this. Basically like a bike handles, more or less. And I like the face, it looks cool, but here you would be able to see like the inside of it. So if we would have like some teeth in here, also we would see them in the back because of the geometry. We are not looking like extremely in front of him. Then yeah, for the hands the same thing. Instead of like pointy fingers, and just give him some claws, and it should look okay. But generally speaking, I feel this is a really nicely looking piece. Like not much needs to be done to make it look a bit better. Also be careful with stuff like this. They do not really add anything to the silhouette. And they look kind of untidy, so most likely I will like add like some more protrusions on the skin, like spikes or stuff like this, kind of break up the silhouette. But I will really think about it a bit more. But generally speaking, it looks really fine. It looks really okay. Just do more things, it will be fine. And use references for these hands because it kind of shows that you did not. But yeah, it looks really cool. So this is for this, I would say. Going back to the skeleton, I also don't really like this. So yeah, let me fill up the silhouette webs with all the grays and whatnot. Let me turn off the colors, and I will try to use my method of erasing the excess of the silhouette. Let's see if it will work today nicely, or if the drawing is like completely full of holes, and if the method won't work nicely today. And magic wand, sample layers, boom, boom. The leg is having some issues, not that big of a deal. In here, there's a hole in here. I don't want this hole to be that big. In hole in here, in here, in here, in here, in the pelvis, Elvis. Yep. The only downside of this method is, as you can see, it creates like this outline of a thing. I don't know why, but it just does. Maybe it's just like a tolerance is a bit too big, but well, this method works nicely today. Can give him some holes in here. I want him to have a hole also in here, maybe in here. In here, not really. Yeah, the top part won't be full of holes. The arm has a hole in it. The hair, basically, I will just like remove manually because I do not want the hair to be affected. With it, I will later like just draw the entire hair piece a bit thicker. So now the only thing is to remove the excess lines. And now we will start with the cool things. Also, the skeleton is relatively easy in terms of the colors. It's basically like a bone with some red flesh on it, like bloody things going on him. So nothing too crazy with all the colors and the ideas for the colors, but I would say something a little bit more casual. Let's go like this, and like that. Okay, so I like the small holes happening in here. I miss like one small hole going on somewhere in like there, like in there. No. In there? No. Here? Yeah. So basically, this is also the reason why I really like filling up the silhouette, because I can see the things that I don't necessarily see without filling it. So Let's make the colors for these guys first. So I will basically color pick from the previous painting that I did, because I can. And since this fella, I liked how previously it was a little bit more like greenish. It has like this awful green tint to it. So, oh, okay, this is the tint I was talking about. Like yellowishly tinted. Grab the yellow again. So basically the texture is there. The access will be a bit more metallic, a bit more gray, and a bit darker. And the cool part is basically what I can do is I can take the red color in here now, kinda like splash with it in some places with different brush, because that one was not really working that well. Some muscles on face, some delts. So basically what I imagine that is kind of happening with this guy is he has some residue things on him. So for example, the leg can be like a bit more reddish because of some muscles still being on it. But I kind of want also for the ligaments to be visible. So the ligaments usually are like brighter on the ends. So let me change this, guys. So the muscles actually have like this white ending, but because he's like really old, the skeleton is, these colors can kind of blend with everything together, because like the muscles I believe have some like pigments in them that makes them red. I guess this is like the blood and everything. So I can imagine after time like this blood kind of like spilling out of the muscles and in, and because it's not like the cleanest skeleton I can imagine, then they get kind of like tainted and everything, so they're kind of like dirty and whatnot. I can imagine the legs being really dirty for them, because they like did it froze. It takes some time. Okay, let me save it. Let me reopen it. I can imagine the legs being a bit more dirty because like they walk in all the dirt shit around there, like all over all the corpses and whatnot. So I can imagine them being the cleanest of the skeletons. Yep. Cool things. And now let me turn on the sketch and place it underneath it. Over the colors, on like overlay. So they will give some of the details to the surfaces. Or maybe not. No, I won't add them. I won't add the thing. Now let me go with the multiply. And basically I will like choose everything again the way I did it previously. I will multiply everything. So basically I'm placing him in the really deep shadow. I want the shadow to be a little bit less saturated and a bit darker. And what I do now is I create a mask, and basically I do remove the shadow from him. And in here this reference really shines because I can pretty much perfectly see how the light will behave on the skeleton and where the light should be applied. So I reduce the opacity to like 50%, so I can really smoothly remove everything, but because I'm working on a mask, It means that I can always like go back and rework everything. So it gives me like a really nice control over everything that I do, which is really cool. Because having a control in the things that you are painting can be a crucial thing for them to actually look cool. So the entire facial area will basically be in the shadow. A bit of a tongue will be lit. This edge. I don't also want the shadows to be that deep. So I'll decrease the opacity a bit. Again, soon when I start adding like a small local shadows, you will see what I mean of this method. What I mean this method is really cool because it will really allow me to add like a fuckload of cool small little details. This part of the pelvis will be like really bright, and this part will be kind of bright. So again, a really nice difference in shadows are already occurring on the pelvic area. This parts will be also bright. This like basically will be entirely in light. A bit of these muscles too. Part of the leg will basically be in the shadow. And now for the hand. I can imagine this part being in the light, forearm being in the light in here and in here. The axe will kind of be lit like from the below. So I don't want it to be that dark as it is. I kind of want to show a bit of a shape to it with all the reflexes and everything. But the top part of an axe will actually be like really bright. So later I will kind of like make it brighter. Change the opacity again for it to be darker, so soon I will be able to control it. Now in here, a bit more light to everything. Entire arm will get a bit more light. Here the entire blade basically will be quite bright. Whoops. Here I only want to like give again a bit of a thickness to it. Entire forearm in the light. So what is really cool, what I can do now is I can close up to it, choose my favorite brush and just add the small details for the shadows in here. So it will make everything pop out a bit nicer. So all the small like differences in light and shadow now pretty much will be visible because I can like really make some of the places shine a lot. And if something has like incision in it, so like in here or in here, it means I can like give it a small local shadow. So the hand can like cast a small shadow. Weapon can be a bit darker. It kind of allows me to like rework a lot of small details quickly. Like in here, we'll grab more light. Actually, I remember like when I was like working on the previous like Corpse Captain, I never really liked the way he kind of turned out in terms of a rendering. I guess it kind of overexposed, I would say. So I want to go with something a little bit more like natural. for this guy. So I guess this will be like the basic shadow for the entire face. And let me just like only add a bit more light to it in here. And now let's add light to him. For the light, I guess the gray from the background will be perfect. And I really like how overlay works with adding the light to these guys, because overlay kind of affects the tonal differences in it, so it will kind of slightly change the colors and everything, which I believe kind of works in my favor. I can also make a thing like where basically I will fill up the entire silhouette with like the same color, and then I can make like a smart thing and use layer styles to basically tell him to avoid the darker areas. So as you can see now, it naturally kind of creates the highlights where the highlights should be. And now when I place it on overlay or soft light, I think soft light will work better in here. It naturally makes the entire thing brighter where I want it to be a bit brighter. And if I feel the color is not right for it, I can always like recolorize it. So I can, for example, cast a really strong red light onto it. It will work. But I believe this color looks kind of nice. It looks really dead, I would say, to me. So also now I can take a bit of like this reddish hues, and with all the reddish hues on the same layer, I can kind of add like a splashes of some color. So basically on the same layer where I add the color to light to it, I now change the color to like this pinkish hue, which kinda is really bright, and it causes the color to get like this yellowy, ugly tint to it, which I feel works really okay for this guy. And now when everything is like basic, when it's done, now I can start like painting over it. So I can redefine all the areas that I feel that should be redefined. So yeah, because like the entire light and shadow scenario is basically now done, so I can like go in and create like the small local differences, but with turned on. Basically I want the insides, the eye holes, eye sockets to be a bit more reddish, and I really want the teeth to kind of shine in this guy face, so kind of make them a bit brighter. Basically the entire area around can be a bit brighter too. So now it's basically like previously a bit of a rendering job, but nothing too fancy happening. But I guess it's always nice to paint a bit more over the sketch, because it can give you some cool looking like lines that will make the entire thing look a bit nicer. For example, the jaw area is a bit dark in my opinion. I was kind of thinking for a longer period of time at the moment to add some sort of a rim light to these characters. I guess I will test it soon to see how it actually looks like. And the entire face should be a bit brighter. Sometimes instead of like making the highlights brighter, I sometimes will choose the midtones to get brighter. It gives, I would say, a bit more natural looking things to happen, like the lighting up with the midtones instead of the highlights makes the entire thing look a bit more believable. The light is just more natural, I would say. In the darker areas though, it can create a bit more like gray looking effects. But for the axes, I also want to put a bit more blood to him. So the axes definitely will be like more bloody. They will like scream bloody murder. Same for hands, basically. If he is like cutting a lot, then the hands will get bloodier. And also what I want to add is a bit more rust. So I will take like this brownish color to it. I will add some rust to it. I can actually imagine like getting struck by a skeleton with like a rusty weapon will not be something that you are really looking up to. But sometimes I will use highlight to just like bring some tones up. So for example, the top part of a weapon should be way brighter because it's basically directed into the front of the light source. So it can easily be a bit overexposed. Not that much. I really like the red hue in here. So something like this will look cool. And also now let's see what it says about auto color. Ooh. Ooh, the white one actually looks way better, I would say, instead of like this yellowish one. Auto contrast and auto tone. I might go with auto contrast first, then make the same thing. So basically I will tell to skip the darker areas, so it will only like brighten up the higher areas. So it's a really subtle change on the face, but I really like it. But what I might end up doing is actually making this area a bit brighter. Is to actually go for the auto tone option and auto color. Because I really like how it looks when it is like creepy white shade hue on it. Maybe I will try do the thing with it. Yeah, I guess this is the way to go for this guy. So basically, I blend the top part with the bottom part, only in the lighter areas. But maybe I should actually not blend it. Maybe I should create like a mask. So basically, I could like retain some colors in the areas which are a little bit more like filled with tissue. So like the neck area, maybe a little bit more to the legs, the knees. So basically the areas which still has some tissue to it, I guess could be a bit like more yellowish, but the areas where there are not that many things could be a bit more whiter. Yep, I like how that looks. Now I can play with levels. The only thing that I don't like is the fact that the face area got overexposed a bit too much. It's basically made too bright of a color to it. Okay, so let me connect this guy to group. So now this is everything in one group. And now let me actually paint the hair, because I want the hair to be there. But I feel they need to be like bit more like painted, so they will have some thickness to it, because I thought previously I said I don't want them to be too thick, but now I kind of feel they are kind of missing, like standing out too much because of the lack of thickness. So I pretty much like the shape of the hair. Yeah, let's go with like this white colors. Like individual strands. I guess this like grayish color works best for the hairs, for the hair. Now I kinda need to add quite a lot of it. And a bit darker hues in some places are still needed. For example, in here it makes quite a lot of sense to be in here. I believe it should have a bit more hair to it. Okay, so this part is a bit too bright, too dark. Yeah, so basically what I will do now is I will add a bit more strands of hair behind everything. So every hair part now will go like from behind the body. So it will be a bit easier to actually control how it goes. Put like this shape in here. This is behind the body. I really enjoy this banshee like hers. Let me go to the layer on top of everything. Some more strands. I guess some like really bright strands that are going on top of the body, over the body, are also needed. So it won't look like it's floating in random places, but that it kind of goes over the silhouette too. It's nice. Now only this guy a bit brighter, this guy a bit brighter, the entire thing a bit darker around. I'm not entirely sold on how it is drawn or painted or whatever, but I guess this will have to do for now. It looks fun. I could maybe make it look a little bit more ethereal. So there will like be kinda blurred. So it looks a little bit more ethereal, but I made it in too many places where I don't like it. I sometimes feel like the Ctrl-Alt-Z is not working at all. I don't like this area. Well, I guess it's too late now. Feel like it should be way more delicate, so like 5% blur will do the job just right. I don't know if I like it, but I'm not entirely convinced. I guess I will leave it the way it is. Yeah, it's fine, I guess. Okay, so basically now I will add like the last thing that I usually do. So darker bottom, brighter top, and the soft light. Something like this will work. 44%. Whoops. Let's see the auto color, the auto contrast again. Tone. Yeah, everything is fine. Let me rework the curves a bit. Yeah, so basically this is it. So this is like a corpse axe skeleton thingy. I only feel like it needs to be liquefied a bit. So the leg could get a little bit more bend to it. Bones. And the hair could be a bit longer. It's in here. Yeah, so liquefy is also a really cool tool for like the final things to rework, because now, as you can see, in a matter of seconds the hair got a bit bright longer and I got rid of the straight lines. I prefer the lines to be a little bit more organic like. So yeah, this is pretty much it for today with the skeleton. Let me clean up some mess around him only. And now let's see what is the next monster. This might be the highlight for today. So now there will be number 7. So let's see what is next to a familiar. And next to a familiar we do have Stalker. Ooh, nice. These are really cool monsters. I don't think there were any of them at the moment. No, so a Stalker will be the next one in the next week. And today I have done this guy. So yeah, quite cool. And thanks anyone for watching, for tuning in. And if you have any questions whatsoever, just feel free to ask them in the comments, subscribe, like, share, whatever. There is the Discord server, link down in the description below. That's pretty much all. And now, it was not a skeleton, this is a Stalker. So yeah, thanks a lot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the stream and maybe learned something new. See ya, till the next time.